Let's walk through the highlights of an MLA formatted paper. First of all, the entire paper is in Times New Roman 12. You'll also notice that the entire paper is double spaced with no additional spaces between anything. So as you look, there's no extra space between the headings and the title, no extra space between the title and the first paragraph, no extra spaces between the paragraphs. Everything is double spaced with no extra spaces. Everything is in times 12. If you don't know how to do font size and double spacing in Google Docs, do a search in the Google search engine for how do I double space in Google Docs? How do I select font size in Google Docs? So as I go through this process of showing you what a MLA formatted paper looks like, if you don't know how to do something I mentioned, it's very simple. Go to Google Doc and do a search for that. Trust me, that's better than me trying to use this video to explain all those details. Because when you go to Google Doc and do the search, it'll immediately call up a bullet-pointed series of examples, a series of instructions, and short videos that show you how to do it. So that's a better way for you to figure out the how. My idea here is to show you the what of MLA formatting, and you use the Google search engine for the how. So you see at the top we have a header. The header has your last name and a page number. Again, use Google search if you need help in figuring out how to add a header or how to add page numbers. Over here in the body of the paper are what are called the headings. You'll notice they start with your first and last name, then my name, then the course number, then the date. Note the format of the date: number, month, year. No commas, no paragraphs. Then comes the title of the paper. Notice the title is in the same font as everything else. It's not larger, it's not in bold, it's not underlined or italicized. So these are the things that really frame and set up the whole paper. 1-inch margins, times 12 font, double spaced, headings with headers with last name of writer and page number, and on the first page, headings that mirror these exactly. Your first page should look exactly like this one. Exactly. That's the whole idea of MLA, that all the papers look exactly the same, so we're judged for the content of our ideas. All right, when you get down to the body paragraphs, a couple things worth noting. One is the indent. There's a tab indent here. You use the tab key to create it. Every paragraph is indented. This is crucial. Without those indentations, readers don't know when one paragraph begins and a new paragraph ends. Let's talk about integrating quotes. When we work quotes into a paragraph, note that the punctuation goes inside the quotation mark. So you'll see that little comma, that doesn't go outside the quote, it goes inside the quotation mark. You see it again down here. The only exception to this is going to be that when you have a citation, that's a parentheses with a page number and an author's name, then the punctuation moves outside the citation, outside the quotes. I'll show you that later. But when you just have quotes, punctuation goes inside the quotes. Let's keep scrolling through. You're noticing that the paragraphs are all double spaced and that there's an indentation in between them. As we scroll through the different paragraphs of this paper, you'll notice that when we get to the Reina Grande paragraph, a couple of things come up that make things unique here. Number one, we put the chapter title in quotes, but the book title is in italics. Chapter in quotes, books in italics. That's also true for the song in the song paragraph. If you're quoting a song, song titles are in quotes. If you're talking about an album title is in italics. So smaller works in quotes, larger works in italics. As we scroll through the Reina paragraph, I want to point out to you an example of that page citation rule I talked about. Remember earlier in the paper, I showed you a quotation and that the punctuation needed to be inside the quotation marks. The one exception is if you have a parenthetical citation. That's what this little paragraph is here. Parentheses, page number, parentheses. Notice that in this case, the period has been moved out. So if there was no citation, the period would be inside the quotes. But because there's a citation, the period is outside the quotes. So that's one more MLA formatting thing related to quotes to keep in mind. Finally, your paper is going to finish with a works cited list. You'll notice that these citations are all double spaced. There's no extra lines in between them, but they're in what is called a hanging indent format. This is definitely something you want to search for in Google. How do I create hanging indents in Google Docs? And you will get a great little bullet point explanation of how to do it, along with videos that show you how to do it. You'll notice that the sources are in alphabetical order by last name. You'll also notice that one of these sources, the video, you could literally just copy and put in your own video information, but that gives you the exact format. This is easier and better than using a citation engine. Here is a citation for Reina's book. You can actually copy and paste that into your paper. Here's a citation for the Thought Company article. If you use that, you could use as is. So really, the only thing that you're going to be starting from scratch would probably be your commencement speech. But again, you could copy this exact format and put your commencement speech in. So in many ways, everything you need to do your works cited is already here for you in the sample works cited. So you could start by copying and pasting what the sample paper does into your paper and then changing it to match your sources. So in a nutshell, that's MLA formatting. One more time, 1-inch margins all around, times 12 for the font, everything double spaced. Headers with last name and page numbers, headings in the exact order as they appear on the first page in the body of the paper. Title for the paper is centered but in no other way marked. Paragraphs are indented. Quotes are integrated using quotation marks. Punctuation comes inside quotation marks. Unless there's a citation, then the punctuation is outside the question marks. At the end of the paper is the works cited. I suggest that you copy and paste this model and plug in your sources and then alphabetize things accordingly. That will work a lot more efficiently than using one of those citation engines out there on the web. Finally, remember the power of the Google search. You can use Google search to look up any one of the techniques that we've talked about here. How do I create hanging indents in a Google Doc? How do I create font size in a Google Doc? How do I change margins in a Google Doc? All of those questions and more are answered quite effectively through a quick Google search. All right. Hopefully this laid out some of the basics of MLA formatting for you.